Okay, so welcome everybody who's tuning in today. I have with me Dr. Darlene TwoTrees Cannon from New Mexico, who is a veteran in Project Sanctuary and a SuperMind master. And this is the first of a number of interviews that we're going to be sharing over a period of time to let you understand all about SuperMind and Project Sanctuary, what it is, and what it can do for you to benefit you in your life. So I'm very happy to introduce you to Darlene, who, how did you get started and how long have you been going with Project Sanctuary?
I've been going from Project Sanctuary, which eventually turned into SuperMind, since the mid-90s, when Silvia first put that out as a free thing. And what happened was my dad was a medicine man and he became ill, which was a shock to everybody. We thought he'd live to be 100, which is not the case. So I hurried back to spend however much time we had left, and my dad spent that time trying to complete my training in the shamanistic tradition. And we fell short of that. So there are not that many of those left, or if those that are left, I'm not inclined to go to the Amazonian jungles or someplace like that. So I had to try and find something that would teach me the shamanic tradition without having to starve myself to the point of hallucinations or taking drugs or making these huge trips, whatever. So I came across Silvia's work, and at that point I realized.
And I just say, for those who are watching who are not in the Guild of Energies, Silvia Hartmann, we're talking about, who's created this. Yes. Yeah.
So I fell in love with it, and I realized it was a means to get what I needed and what I wanted for my shamanic work, and even go beyond that. So I took her Project Sanctuary Master's course, and at that time, she taught it. Silvia is a taskmaster, to say the least. And although I managed to complete it in 3 months, there were certainly times when Silvia's little notes that came back said, what we have here is a magic failure, do it over. So I learned a lot. And I actually incorporated that not only in my personal life, my shamanic work, but also because I was a nurse at that time and asked to start a complementary medicine program, I incorporated that work in a program in Texas at the hospital that I worked with and used it with patients.
Okay, great. So not everybody understands what we mean when we say Project Sanctuary and SuperMind. So you know, from your experience, how could you best describe what that is?
It's the melding of the unconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious to where we can make use of it on a conscious level instead of, I don't think very many people are connected. They get intermittent connections because learning how to do that, number one, you do that automatically as a child, and it's been taught out of you, at least in our Western culture. They teach you how not to do that throughout your life. And secondly, it's not something that people recognize, that we have these 3 parts of us that work in conjunction and are there to make our life joyous, wonderful, creative, innovative, instead of a lot of the drudgery that we have now as life.
Yeah. So, and so how does it actually work? You know, I have my own way of kind of explaining and describing it. So, you know, what does it actually mean on a practical level when you use these abilities that we have? What is it that we're doing?
I believe that what we're doing is becoming a whole and complete person. And when you do that, that means that it's self-evolution to levels, continual upward spiraling levels of your abilities, dreams, goals, anything in that particular manner. It's a very simple technique. I call my membership 20 minutes to creative genius, but it doesn't take 20 minutes to do it. It takes less than 5.
Yeah.
And on your way. It's this wonderful gift that Silvia gave us to really express ourselves on all levels and evolve from there.
Yeah. So what do you do? What is your little 5-minute steps then? I'm kind of intrigued to know how you do it.
Once you establish your initial contact, it's simply Dear Energy Mind, which is what most of us involved call our unconscious mind, because unconscious mind has negative connotations to it. So we just simply say, Dear Energy Mind, take us to the perfect place in time and space to do whatever, for whatever. And
so in other words, you have an intention on your quest, or your little journey
yes.
you're about to embark upon. You have an intention of something you want to solve or learn or create or address.
Although I've had intentions and Energy Mind has had other intentions. I've gotten there and went, whoa, okay,
Yeah.
I guess we're going with this.
Yeah. So go ahead, Karen, continue. So you do your setup, Dear Energy Mind, take me to the perfect place in time and space where I can. And then you have your intention, or instruction or request.
An example would be for me where I can find the perfect plant spirit essence for, my particular patient's problem. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you actually, for me, and of course, don't forget I come from Native tradition. So there I go and talk to the plant spirit itself and discuss what needs to be done with this particular person and their particular disease process. And that plant spirit may say, okay, I'm not the right one. You need somebody else. And this is the one that I would recommend. It really logs you in to the wavelength of the entire universe and really enforces the fact that everything is connected and you have access to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the mind-blowing amazingness of it, actually, as I also starting to appreciate myself too. So in your many years experience of using SuperMind or Project Sanctuary, have you got any kind of favorite or special times where you've got something, a threshold shift, an evolution, something like was really memorable and significant that you could share with us that really benefited you at that time?
I think I've used projects, and I've had some personal deaths. My father died, my significant other died, and my son died this year. And I've used Project Sanctuary to get through those grieving processes without being shattered would be the best way. I'm not saying that it eliminates all the pain. However, you move through that process. You can have conversations if you want to with those people. You can call them up into your sanctuary, and especially if you feel lonely or you feel the need to talk to them. And it's not your imagination. There's something there. You're connected to their spirit, and that responds to you to help you through your particular time of grief. And I've had a little bit of a difficult time with conventional people who are used to seeing people being shattered and taking a long time to move through their grief or not move through their grief. Fortunately, having had Project Sanctuary already there in place, I was able to move through those grieving processes quicker and with less trauma. I'm not saying that there's not sadness and there's not pain, that it can, however, it can certainly decrease that to something that is very manageable and allow your life to continue and move on as you go through those processes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really, and I also, remember how I kind of made that completion movement, when my own father died some time ago, and again went into sanctuary and went back to be with him for the completion of what didn't happen at the time, which really felt like it helped me a lot to process and be able to move forwards with all the emotions that were going on at the time. Unfinished business, for me, it was really helpful for that.
With my father and my, significant other, they had disease processes that were a chronic, they had cancer. So I had time to prepare and deal with everything. With my son, he was killed in a gunshot event. So, and he was only 33 at the time. So I didn't have any, there was no warning time.
Yeah.
So there was no completion for finding out, why did you choose this? Okay, to participate in that. And Sanctuary gave me the opportunity to ask him on the spiritual level, exactly what were you thinking? He left behind 2 kids and me and other things. And that came to a resolution. I mean, my son had his reasons for leaving, and who am I to say those are not good enough reasons? That's just what souls do, is they leave when they're ready, whether we are or not. And that helped a lot to be able to have that conversation with him in Sanctuary and not be hurt or angry or blameful of him leaving like that. Of course, typical of my son, it was very dramatic. All of it was very dramatic. The ending too. So that was just Damon.
So a very wide variety of ways we can use Sanctuary in our life, and you using it in your life for your work, you're dealing with your patients, your clients, for your own personal evolution, for yourself.
Writing books. I've used Sanctuary to write books in. You can write your books quicker and easier, and it just flows rather than struggling. There's no such thing as a blank page. The ideas are, sometimes it's more you have to stop the flow rather than work for the flow.
Yeah, so that somehow that connecting with those parts of ourself which connect us to the infinite, unlimited stream of information and energy, then when we have that really good connection, then creativity is easy and effortless and infinite flow, which makes it easy and much more joyful then when we're creating from that place. Yeah, that's nice. So any final things that you want to add, Darlene, about Project Sanctuary or SuperMind? Can you say what, from your point of view as a Project Sanctuary master and now a SuperMind master, could you say from your point of view what you see as the difference, with what we have now as what we call SuperMind compared to Project Sanctuary?
To me, the difference is it's just laid out in a more easy manner, simple manner for anybody to understand, even a small child. Where Project Sanctuary was much more difficult, and there are not that many. She didn't pass everybody who took the course, but I know there are several masters that took years to complete that, where now I can teach you, any of us who are the masters can teach you in 5 minutes how to start working with it. I just think it's something, I've always loved it, and I've always thought it was important. And as time goes on and the world changes and the problems arise, I just think it's something, it should be taught in schools, that every kid in the world and adult should know how to do this.
How to access their unlimited creativity and unlimited resources for life, for their learning, for managing their life, for problem solving, that it's tapping into that infinite resource that is there. How to do that is a skill. And so it's good to kind of set out on a quest to want to learn how and get to know ourselves more in the process. Yeah. Okay, great. So really happy to speak to you. We're going to carry on making these, so we're going to keep it short. And so thank you so much for your time. And we hope to speak on the future interviews with other Project Sanctuary Masters and SuperMind Masters so that they can share their personal experience too. So thanks a lot, Darlene, for your time today, and look forward to seeing you again. Perhaps along the way we might be able to discuss another aspect of our experiences.
See you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. Thanks.